So if you stumbled upon this video and maybe you don't know what Home Assistant is all about, it's probably one of the fastest growing and largest communities for just open source. You don't need to buy special things and everything. It brings all of your smart home stuff all into one application instead of having like 30 different applications on your phone and trying to remember how to open the garage door or turn on the lamp because it goes, yeah, this Home Assistant puts it all into one. Now in this video, if you want to skip past all of this because, hey, you bought the Home Assistant Green and you just want to go jump in and do the onboarding, you don't want to load anything, absolutely. I have all the chapters down below. You can jump around, skip all through my damn talking, and hopefully you do have fast forward because I do talk a lot. Well, in this video, we're going to show you how to and where you can run Home Assistant on because it's very versatile of like you can run it on tons of different hardware, different computers, small boxes, etc. And some of them even come with Home Assistant pre-installed. How awesome is that? But a really good skill set is being able to fix your own stuff because once you rely on Home Assistant for doing everything, it's going to spoil you, of course. I mean, if you have a day out of not having it working, well, that kind of sucks. So we're going to show you how to load your own thing, even though some do come with it. I saw that there is like a little NUC style mini PC that comes with Home Assistant installed. Not sure how much I trust like that, like some of these computers coming with operating systems installed. So we're going to wipe out anything and we're going to install Home Assistant in two methods. So I got a lot of different ones here. Obviously, Home Assistant themselves, they have the Home Assistant Green. And then basically this is just out the box, straight, ready to go. You plug it in, put it on your network, and you're done. And you start configuring Home Assistant. It's pretty damn awesome. But these are, and of course, this is June 2025 after the fun of all the prices of tech and everything. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm sure everybody, if you watch the news, you know. Yeah, this is like about, I think around like $150 US now. So what else can we run Home Assistant on that is about the same price, but not as slow as the Green? Yeah, the Green is like, think of it like Pi 4 speed. And if you haven't seen the Pis, well, that's those little small single board computers. This is a Pi 5. And I really don't recommend going with the Pi 4 or even the Pi 5 at this time because by the time you get into this guy, the storage, then if they do like micro SD cards on the bottom, and I know you can do the other NVMe drives and everything, but by the time you do all of that and everything and spend the time and everything, you could just go get either the Home Assistant Green, or you could go spend the same money and get a computer, small computer like a N95, N97, N100, N150. I know it's a bunch of numbers, but they're all about the damn same. Some of them want it a little bit more efficient, but it's like splitting hairs on some of the wattage. Like, one of them may run at like 7 watts and this one may run at 8 or 9 watts. And if you're really that worried about like 1 or 2 watts, you're probably not going to be in the whole smart home realm anyway, because once you start adding a bunch of smart bulbs and smart plugs and everything else, you're going to be adding a little bit of wattage here and there. And like some people like me have over 150 something different devices, well, that starts to add up and those 2 or 3 watts kind of go away. And if you really do your calculations on it, that's like pennies of what you're paying for what power on some of that stuff anyway, on the Vulcan power. So I've got one to load for a family friend member deal. And I started to do a bunch of research on it and said, hey, let me go look at what small computers I can find. And I bought a few of them here and there, and I'll talk about those. Absolutely the best option is not buying new. I know I try to, other channels try to get you to buy a bunch of crap and the referral links. Yeah, I do put the referral links down at the bottom. You're welcome to use them. If not, they do help out support the channel. There's no additional cost to you. It's great if you do, but go check out like some of your local refurb stores. Like I've done ones like these little Dell little mini PCs. These are, they call them the ultra small form factor USFF. And this one, I think, is an i3 7th generation. Now, keep in mind, we are in the current 14th generation, I think, right now. So that's quite a bit behind. I wouldn't go with anything like less than probably 7th or 8th gen, just due to the whole power requirements deal. But if you're going to go new, and also a laptop works awesome for Home Assistant, because then you get the full screen for debug and everything. It also has probably a good battery in it, so there's your battery backup if you lose power. Pretty cool stuff there. But if you do want to go new, there are several options. I'm actually going with the B-Link, probably like an N100. Now, both of these look kind of the same. And no, B-Link did not sponsor this video. Nobody did. This is all me and all the things. And so B-Link has, this is like I had a label on the bottom. So this is the N150, and I think this is the N100. They're very comparable in the pass marks, which is the CPU power. So go look at what the prices are. I know there are some other ones like GMK Tech, and there's several other little mini PCs. But I would stick to like the N95 or better. Probably wouldn't get some of the older ones just due to the speed on them. And especially when you get into a bigger Home Assistant network, you'll really appreciate that when you start adding like all the different like SwitchBot Bluetooth sensors, and then you start to get into compiling stuff with custom things, say Apollo Automation with ESP Home, and doing all your little devices. You'll appreciate that faster speed. You won't be waiting around all day on these older processors, and the N95 and better will take care of you on that aspect. Now, I do have like some other stuff, but I wouldn't go with like Orange Pi. That's kind of a weird one as well. Stick to the Intel stuff, and especially think about another thing here is if you are going to go with, you want to do Frigate, and you say, what the hell is Frigate? You just talking about Home Assistant, did you? It's a whole camera in VR that you can build in automations and stuff and alerts and kind of make it one ecosystem of recording all your cameras, object detection, everything. But you got to think of, there's not a lot of storage space on this guy. And not a lot of compute power when you start throwing in like 10 or 12 cameras. So you may want to go something, this is a prototype deal that Orico sent me, but I'm just using it as a prop. This is a 12th generation i7, I believe, but the cool part is it has multiple hard drive slots on it. So they can pop out their hard drives and put it in there, and you can actually store a lot of your different camera footage. This also has, on this model, also has 6 NVMEs. There's 4 on the top and then 2 on the bottom. Party in the back, right? So, but you don't have to go something with that, but just keep in mind that if you are going to go with Frigate, this would run Home Assistant and Frigate, and whatever else you want to do, you may want to have to go with something like TrueNAS or Unraid, run VMs for your stuff, and then run Frigate, and then you can store your stuff on hard drives. But you can see it's a fairly small unit. Of course, you could build your own little tower thing, but that's probably out of the realm of this exact video. But just, I wanted to point that out. I would hate for someone to be like, get one of these, and then a month later, they're already trying to get rid of it to upgrade because they heard about Frigate. They could consolidate some of their stuff and do some awesome NVR, like package detection, person detection, etc., and all those fun notifications. Now, of course, if you got a bunch of other questions and everything, look at the link down there in my digiblur Discord, and you can come in there, join the chat, and we can talk about different things. And a lot of people love to share their ideas and their setups for Home Assistant, and maybe that would help you on your decisions. So you're probably going to hear a term from me 100 times, HAOS, along with the community and everything. And a lot of people are saying, well, what exactly is that? It's simple. It's Home Assistant Operating System. It's an all-in-one image, has all the little add-ons, and you like a lot of one-click installs. It's really hands-off. It allows you as a beginner in the whole Home Assistant world to focus on actually like, hey, how do I pair up this light bulb? How do I pair up this light switch? What do I do with automations on it? I don't want to worry about all the little updates and drivers and Docker containers and everything. HAOS, you just put it on the machine and it just takes care of all of that for you. Now, of course, there are some other geeky sides of things if you're more along the Linux side and you want to do your own Docker containers or VMs. Absolutely go ahead. You probably want to skip through some of this in the video unless you're just really bored and want to learn some more. Now, there's also another term you're probably going to hear is Nabu Casa. That is a paid service that does help support the Home Assistant development. And what it is it allows you to remotely access your Home Assistant console, web browser with the app, etc. And it allows you to control it remotely without having to mess with firewalls, routers, etc. You just put in your stuff and rock and roll. They also allows you to do some cloud backups to them, voice control stuff, tie in all your Echo and Nest speakers without like a bunch of geeky stuff. You just put in your stuff and hit a few buttons and you're rocking and rolling and you're doing voice control in the home. Nabu Casa is definitely pretty cool and definitely worth the money. Now on to, I'm actually going to be using the B-Link, N150. I got this on sale. Of course, prices change all the time. It was about the same as what I got for the Home Assistant Green. Now, don't get hung up, like I said, on all the numbers. Find something that is within your budget, whether it be something that was refurb or whatever. Now this method, I'm actually going to be taking out the NVMe inside and we're going to put it in this little caddy here. This has USB-C on it. I'll leave the link to this one. This is Sabrent. Do make sure if you get a different one that it is going to support SATA and NVMe. I've seen too many times somebody plugs in and then they happen to have SATA NVMe in here. I guess it's just SATA, and then this won't register it because they got the wrong one. So get the one that supports both and you're double covered. Now, if you don't want to do the geeky stuff, skip to the next chapter and we're going to be doing the USB style install on that one, and makes it a little easier for some people, and then you ain't got to buy extra crap either. So first you're going to need a little screwdriver. This is going to just take the 4 screws out. They're small Phillips. Now of course this is the same kind of theory based on if you did this on a laptop, a larger computer, etc. It's all going to be the same, whether you bought different models. It's just, taking out an NVMe drive and putting it in the little caddy and throwing HAOS on it. This is the actual RAM chip right here. Don't pull this out. You can put, looks like in this model, another NVMe. But basically, you'll just take this screw out right here. We'll pull that out. Make sure you don't lose the screws or drop it in the case like I've done before. Magnetic screwdrivers are always great. And then if you just wiggle it out, it will pop right out, or like I did, drop it, and there's no big deal. And then put that to the side, and we're going to pop open the caddy and pop it in here. And I can already tell, I believe this is a SATA one because of the dual notches on it. So we'll see if mine reads on it. It should. And then turn the little deal, close the door, and then we'll hook up the USB-C cable to our computer. I think sometimes they do have a USB-C to USB-A, but I guess most people should have USB-C. Now, since you are pulling the NVMe out of the box and you're putting it into the little caddy, you do have the opportunity to read and image the disk. So if you want to repurpose this to put Windows back on it, you can. Now, I'm not going to go over that, but there are a bunch of tools out there. Just Google away about imaging your disk and doing a read. Now, to put Home Assistant on it, they actually have it on their document of getting started. Now, I do know there are some boxes out there that come with Home Assistant preloaded on them. Not sure exactly how much I trust those, so it might be a good idea just to go ahead and reload Home Assistant yourself on those using one of these methods. Now, the documentation says to go get the latest Balian etcher. I've had a bunch of issues with it. A bunch of other people have issues with it. I'll leave the link down to the version that I found that works well, which that version is 1.18.11. And you can get that straight from their GitHub. And that way you don't have to like go get it from some bootleg link. The recent ones I found that they fail on the verify, and sometimes they won't extract, and there's just a whole bunch of issues. The older version just works and does the thing. So we will need to download the latest HAOS. So if you just go here and copy, and I'll leave the link to this. This is just the Home Assistant website. And if you just go and copy the GitHub link here and paste it into your browser at the top, and it will download the file. Now, sometimes you do need to extract that. I've found for some people, I don't know why it works for some and some it doesn't, but we're going to try it with Balian Etcher 1.811 without extracting and see what happens. So we got our USB drive attached. We're going to say flash from file, flash from URL. I haven't ever been able to get that to work either. They even say in the document not to use it. So we'll say flash from file. Looks like it automatically extracted it for us. Fingers crossed. We'll say select target. I'm using that Sabrent. Make sure you pick the right drive. Very important. Don't pick your own hard drive. That'd be bad. That's why it usually hides them. Hit select and then hit the flash button. Then it's going to really warn you again. You sure you want to do this? Yep, I sure do. You're going to get the little prompt. Hit yes on that. And then it should say starting and flashing. Let it go through the flash. Also let it go do the verify. So hurry up and wait. And of course, if you get stuck on any of this, you'll find the Discord link down below for someone to come help you on the digiblur DIY Discord. So once you get the flash completed message, good to go. It's verified. You know you have HAOS on the actual NVMe drive. And we can pop it out. We'll put it back in the actual computer. And then we need to go in. There is a BIOS setting that I like to tweak on the box itself because you're going to be running it headless with no monitor, no keyboard, nothing like that. You're just going to be plugging into Ethernet for your router, and then you plug it into power, and that's it. Now, since you use this method, and you're going to be using the USB flash method, go ahead and skip over to the next chapter. That's where we're going to go through a setting on the box itself to make sure it's always powered up to run your home. So we'll get there one day when I'm a professional. So to get there and do just the USB method, which is not opening the box and don't take the NVMe drive out, just use a USB stick. And everybody's familiar with them. You don't need a massive one. This is just, I love the little Samsung bar ones. There's 32 gig. I don't even know if you can buy 32 gig anymore, but yeah, I'll leave the links down for these and some others that I've used if you really want to go hunt some up if you don't have any. What we're going to do is write Ubuntu to this and boot to there, and then we'll pull Home Assistant down and write it to the internal drive. A few more steps, but you don't have to open the box. Now, do keep in mind, you're not going to be able to back up Windows off of there very easily, so think about that if you did want to back up the original drive. I'm sure there's some other tools out there you can boot from USB and image the drive over network, but that's kind of out of the scope of this video. So there's a few things we do need of software once you have your USB drive. And one of the little tutorials, I'll leave the link down there for Ubuntu. This is just the one for Windows, and a lot of people use it. And if you use Linux, there's also one out there for Linux, Mac, etc. It does say use Balian Etcher instead of Rufus, but yeah, we've had issues with Balian Etcher if you saw the previous segment. So I'm actually going to use Rufus. It's never failed me in the past. There's like UNet booting as well. There's a couple other ones for doing bootable USBs. So go ahead and download Rufus. I'm just using the portable one. And then you will need the Ubuntu desktop. Just go to Ubuntu and hit the download desktop one. It'll pull the entire image for you. It has a little gimmicky thing of trying to get you to sign up for stuff sometimes, but just let it go. It will download the thing using the link that you did. Just hit download right there. So do make sure you don't need anything on that USB stick. You never know what you wrote on there a few years ago. Could be some family pictures or something. So I'm gonna confuse y'all. This is my Rufus. This is their tutorial. So yeah, this is using the 32 gig. Luckily, Rufus is smart enough not to let you put it on other drives. So we're gonna do the disk or ISO image and just hit select and pick your Ubuntu drive that you did pick. I don't think there's anything else in the selections. You just hit right ISO and just leave it all. Yeah, leave all as defaults and let it rip. So we're gonna hit start. I'm gonna say recommended just like they said. Yep, we're gonna hit OK. And it's gonna go through and delete the partitions and write out our USB stick. So while it's writing this, you can go ahead and get your B-Link or NUC or whatever you decided to use. You need to get it connected to HDMI, a screen of some sort, and also a keyboard and I think a mouse as well, since we're going to use Ubuntu desktop unless you're really crafty with the keyboard. Got it finished, no errors, ready to go. We will pull the USB stick and put it in the B-Link, and then we do need to get into the BIOS usually, because otherwise it's going to try to boot to the NVMe or SATA drive. And I just go ahead and pick the manual option. We'll get to that. Let's just go ahead and show that and I'll shut up. All right, so we're back in the BIOS. Just spam delete key. I am using the Jet KVM to get into this, but that's just for me to show this on my screen. Easy way to do that. But yeah, there is no mouse in here. I don't know why I keep playing with the mouse like an idiot. If we go over here, and some of them may be a little different depending on the ones, but if you go over here to save and exit, and you'll notice down here, now I don't want to boot from the SSD. I want to boot from that Samsung bar. Now, of course, if your USB is a different name, you may have to pick it. And just go ahead and boot from that. And then the top option, I know it's really small because of the screen, just says try or install Ubuntu. Now, do keep in mind this is very slow usually, especially depending on if you used a slower USB stick. It's booting from a USB drive, so have some patience. It's not a stupid fast process here. But eventually, once we do get Home Assistant on, it's going to be fast. So this is just like that one-time thing. I'm probably going to make it look fast because I edit a bunch of crap out, but that's the beauty of being able to delete dumb dead air. So apparently I cannot zoom this thing, but y'all going to hate me. I think you can just go through and next a lot of this stuff because we're just trying Ubuntu. We're going to connect to the internet using the wired connection. I don't need to update the installer. I'm not installing. I just want to try Ubuntu. And there you go. So now we have Ubuntu up on our box. No, we're not using this. We're just using this to install Home Assistant as a crutch, kind of. All applications. We do need to open up the Home Assistant I/O stuff because it's so much easier instead of typing in that link that's this long. Well, is it this long or that long? Yeah, there we go. Like an idiot in the camera. Home Assistant. We're going to say getting started. So generic. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to download the image. And this is going to download it actually to your box. It may take a little time depending on your internet. And then we can just follow along the instructions here. So we do disk. So once you get in here, pick the disk. This is that 512 gig disk. And then you got the three dots over here. And then you need to say restore disk image. And then we need to go browse to that image we just downloaded. So Ubuntu probably in downloads. And there it is, HAOS generic. There it is. We'll hit open on that guy. And is 506 gigs smaller. Well, that's fine. And then we can hit start restoring. And that's going to put HAOS right onto that image. It's going to tell you it's going to write over it. Yes, we want to do that. I know it sounds funny to restore, but actually we're writing over it, restoring that HOS image to the internal drive. So it wants authentication. I guess we don't have an authentication. We're just logged in as a regular user. And you should see it saying restoring disk image. And there it is. If you do get any errors of like, hey, that disk is busy, you can't restore to it, you've probably like installed or skipped some step and you actually have it using that disk. Since we're booting from the USB, of course, that allows us to do whatever we want with that disk. And we will remove the USB because we will have HAOS connected. And it probably, if you didn't change the boot order, it should just boot into HAOS, Home Assistant Operating System. So we'll go ahead and power it off and remove our USB. So I am using Jet KVM to pull the BIOS up, but you could do this by hooking up any kind of HDMI screen, even a TV, whatever. Plug a mouse into it. I guess you don't really need a mouse with the BIOS, just at least a keyboard of some sort. Mash, delete, Alt Home, Alt F12, whatever yours may be. The B-Link was actually, I just kept spamming delete when I turned it on and it jumps into the BIOS. Really wanting to look for one setting, and that is, it's going to be different for all of them because BIOS is crazy. You may have to Google it, grok it, or whatever. But look at this one, chipset, PCHIO. This is the N150 box. I'm assuming the N100 is pretty close to this. See, it says state after G3. Yeah, it's just totally, human friendly, right? G3. It's basically, if you Google it after you have a power failure or when power is applied, because basically if you do have power go out, well, then when power comes back on, you don't have a battery backup or whatever, or you plug it back in, you do want this thing to just power back up and bring up Home Assistant, right? Well, S5 is the off state, so change it to S0. Probably some other boxes will just say like power state after power failure or something. They actually have human readable things, but some of the newer BIOSes get stupid geeky with it. That's pretty much all I'm going to change in the BIOS. You're welcome to change whatever else you want in here, but that's all I need to change and call it a day. Make sure you do save changes and exit. And after you do change that setting, I would probably let it boot up and everything, maybe power it down and go try it. Unplug the power and plug it back in. That way you know you got it, because you may not get to test that feature for like another 6 months until you really need it. So we're going to let this boot up and we're going to pull in. You do need the Ethernet connection and internet Ethernet connection. If you want to do Wi-Fi, you can really get into that and look in the Home Assistant documentation. I don't recommend the Wi-Fi connection at all for your smart home. You should be able just to plug this thing in next to your router, right? You can pull the IP address if you really want to, or you can go to homeassistant.local and just use the actual IP address, since I have multiple Home Assistants running. So the first time you're going to boot up, it's going to pull up this, and it's going to say preparing Home Assistant. It says 20 minutes, but we're not using a Pi 3 here or the green. Again, we're using that N150, and it's going to download the Docker container and everything and go through. You can hit the details if you like, but just go away and come back and let it do its thing. Now, this is the cool part. What makes it all about HAOS is, if you had another box and you did a backup from it and you did it to the Nabu Casa cloud that we talked about, you could pull that straight into the cloud by just logging in with your Home Assistant cloud, pull your backup, boom, you're straight off and running on the races and don't have to reconfigure all your crap. How awesome is that? Love the features with that. Now you can, if you have a local backup that you've done, you could upload a backup here from your other machine. Now I'm not doing a backup, I'm starting fresh off, but it's pretty simple to drop that backup in there. So we're just gonna say create my smart home and we'll put our new user. So we'll say create account. Then you're going to put your home location. Now you're probably thinking, well, no, this is supposed to be private and everything. You probably want to put your home location, especially if you're going to be doing automations later, where you're doing like proximity to the house of like opening your garage door, stuff like that. This is locally on your box. So don't worry about giving, and doxing yourself. But if you really want to do that, maybe like pick a point down the street or something like that. Then we're going to do all this. If you want to turn on analytics, usage, diagnostics, you're more than welcome to. I do like that they default that to off. A lot of places will want to default that all to on, so props to them. If you want to read how they process it, go ahead. Next. And then we found, look at this. It's already found a bunch of devices and everything, and pretty damn slick. It's just hit finish. Now, if we want to add those in, we're more than welcome to. You'll see in the automations. So this is a fresh box. You can see that I haven't done anything. I haven't put in anything except for what my location and a username that I made. And it's already found like the bedroom TV is playing Plex right now. I can turn on the different speakers and start playing things. So like if I want to hit the little display, you can hear that one. And I can start playing media to it. It's pretty damn slick that you can go through and just do all this. And it's all through like auto discovery. This is like the power for Home Assistant. Now, even cooler, if you come in here to the integrations, go to devices and services, you can see it's like already found a bunch of my devices on my network, like down to my cameras for like Reolink. You can pull those in. You just need to know, of course, the ID and password to those. Even found Bluetooth stuff using the Wi-Fi chipset that's actually on the actual B-Link. How cool is that? You get a bunch of more stuff. Like we'll go ahead and add one of these. This is the Inkbird. We'll add that one. We'll say submit. Of course, you want to pick an area. Like where is it actually at? The only problem is, of course, if you have a bunch of B-Links, then you may not know exactly where they're at. But you can see the power of all the things. Now, of course, we want to change the name. This IBSTH04BE, that doesn't mean anything. So definitely give it a good name. Now, this isn't a whole video of like onboarding and everything for Home Assistant, but this is just to get your feet wet of doing all the things. Now, this is just like a default dashboard that is going to throw all the entities on there. Probably want to dig into some other dashboard stuff that, this is a long enough video as it is. But you can see you're up and running with all the things of Home Assistant. So go have fun, go dig around. Oh, and don't forget to set up your backups. So that'll about do it for this one. Hopefully you were able to see and learn how to load Home Assistant on various products, both different ways or whatever, because you never know when shit's gonna hit the fan and you need to reload Home Assistant on yours. And don't forget those backups, because yeah, that takes a lot of time doing all the configuration and everything. So definitely back up your system to local storage or the cloud or whatever it may be, like with Nabu Casa. It's an awesome service. No, they didn't sponsor again, but it's a cool thing of being able to access Home Assistant remotely, but you do have to pay for that. And if you didn't want to, you still, of course, you could do your own firewall things and not pay for anything. That's the beauty of this open source stuff. I do appreciate all the Patreon members and YouTube members. We definitely couldn't do it without you. And yep, you know the drill. Press all them buttons down there and y'all take care.